Hello.
Hello.
Ah,
Good evening. Good evening.
good evening.
It's good to see you on March 10, 2021. Date stamp verbally a little bit, right?
Yeah.
Well, I'm Margo Ross Sears. I am here with our host, our Iris Carter. Welcome to the show, Eyes of Indigo.
Deborah
Yay!
says, I'd say good evening, ladies, but with both your mad intuitive skills, you already knew I was going to say it. That's awesome.
She's got us pegged. Absolutely. Glad to see you, Deborah.
I kept seeing a joke about I went to a psychic and knocked on the door, and when she asked who it was, I walked away.
A good one.
If you don't know who I
am, what are we doing here?
Yeah.
Absolutely. That joke comes up a lot.
Yeah, but you know, it is what it is. You can't.
It is what it is. It's life. It's life. So welcome to the show. We are if you're new to the channel, hi, welcome. And we also are very, very pleased for our regulars to be back. If you would like us to know who you are, you want to check in and say hi, please do so in the chat or in the comments, be it YouTube or Facebook, depending on whichever platform you're using. We're on both. And Iris, tell us a little more about where else they can find us.
We can find the shows are done live at 9:30 on Wednesdays, but then they're recorded so they stay on YouTube or on our Facebook page. And then I take the audio and put it on my blog, which is at iriscarter.com, and you'll see the link for Eyes of Indigo. And that projects it up to iTunes and Spotify. And yay! I'm behind again. I will get them caught up, but there's already quite a few. Hello, Edie.
Hi, Edie. Glad to see you guys here. Feel free to say hi anytime. And during our show, anytime you want to ask us a question or you want to add to what we're saying, we strongly encourage that. We want that. And this is, we designed this with the intention of, Q&A is a part of what we're doing here. So, don't be shy. Jump on in.
Excuse me. Yes. And so tonight's program is Empaths, Intuitives, and Mediums. Oh my. Who are these people and what do they do? Learn more about muggles, witches, energy workers, shamans, and light workers. And yes, I looked it up. It is shamans, not shaman.
I thought about that before.
Yeah, I was like,
that's true. Yeah, I've always seen it with an S, but no, it's not shaman, it's shamans. Yeah.
Yes.
Angie, hello.
Lisa Klein, thank you for joining us.
Absolutely.
So let's see. We've got, let's start. We were talking about, we want to kind of present what these different things are. And I guess part of that started from when we first started talking. I said, there's things that I've learned to do or that I could do for a long time. Things would happen. And I kept seeing different definitions for different things and not knowing, and then being in the circles that I'm in, and you hear people start rattling off, oh, I can do this and I do that, and it's like, Holy cow, give me a psychic dictionary so I can understand all this shit, because I have no clue.
Terminology.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I
You,
never was in a
you need
situation where I was
you
around
need a
people to learn it.
glossary here.
Yeah. So I said, well, Lord knows if I'm confused, I'm not the only one. I've learned that a long time ago. So that's why we're going to kind of talk about this stuff. And one of the first ones, before we get into all the psychic ones, let me find um is oh, where did it go? Ah,
Or so you're talking about in terms of metaphysical terms and
and
intuitive
people that do
people
things.
terms. Okay.
And so muggles is mentioned in our, and some people may already know the phrase, but I thought this was funny because it's Morticia Adams. When a muggle judges you for practicing magic because it's the devil's work, but then they go light candles and make wishes before blowing them out on their
Their
birthdays.
birthdays.
So I saw the muggles. I was like, yeah, we got it.
I hadn't thought about that, but yeah, that's casting a spell.
Yeah.
Big time it is. Blowing out candles on a cake is definitely a spell. The cake is, the candle is, the wish is, the whole 9 yards, the
And then you're
blowing.
eating it to boot.
And then you eat it, and that's another part of the incantation. With all those happy germs.
Yay! Yeah.
People are like, ooh, I didn't think about that. You're blowing germs on a cake. Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm.
Cupcakes
Mm-hmm.
became in fashion, what, about 20 years ago because of that?
What did?
Cupcakes
Oh,
instead of
cupcake.
and
Oh, I didn't
yeah.
realize that was why cupcakes were popular.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, people got savvy to the sanitation grade
Uh,
of blowing
yeah.
on a cake.
I guess, Grandpa blows his dentures out one too many times.
Uh-huh. Babies.
Yeah.
No. Mm-mm. Thank you.
So tell them what muggles are. We know where it came from, but not everybody does.
That's true. Muggles is a term that is thought to be coined by J.K. Rowling, the author of the Harry Potter series. And the term muggles refers to people, not animals, but people who are non-magic, regular 3-dimensional third density people who do not subscribe to magic. However, they do subscribe to science, which is magic too. But that's a whole nother discussion.
Oh, I don't know. But you might have kind of. What's the phrase? Because that was coined by somebody famous. Magic is. Oh crap! You told me. Magic is only the stuff that you don't know about yet, or something like
Oh,
that.
magic is technology you don't understand yet.
Yes.
All magic is technology you don't understand yet. Lots of time, what that means in more specifically is technology is more than just computers and chips and electronics. All right. To give it context, if you go back in time, when cave people, before the Cro-Magnons were walking around, and they realized that they could get leverage on a stick and a rock to lift something in the air, and so they created the fulcrum. That was technology, and all it was the moving of a stick over the top of a rock. That is technology. Okay, so that's ancient technology. Move it forward. Now we do electronic technology. That was better wording. That was mechanical technology. Now it's electronic technology. Into the future, it's ethereal and more spiritual based technology. A little bit of definite clarity on the word spiritual. Spiritual does not refer to just worship and religion. Spirituality, in that context, spirituality is referring to the human connection to that which is beyond your physical body, that affects your universe, the ethers, the spirit, the light, the vibrations, things that we don't have words for that exist in other dimensions that still affect this dimension. And we loosely call that spirituality. So magic is technology you don't understand yet.
And if you really think about it, even on a simpler level, magicians are not, like
they're
you've seen.
physicists. Those are physicists.
Yeah,
Yeah.
they're not like literally making things disappear in the air. They're
using
manipulating it in a way that you don't understand to make it happen.
They're using obscure laws of physics that are not popularly or widely known. For that reason, they keep it in their trade. They keep it in their trade. They know about laws of physics that we don't, that the general public doesn't know. They know about exceptions. Now, some musicians, magicians use sleight of hand and optical illusions, which is a very popular tool. But another popular tool is actually bending the known laws of physics using obscure laws of physics, or using physics from the fourth and fifth density as well. Literally, professional magicians are physicists. They're scientists that have learned
That's cool.
they've learned to do it for a paycheck to entertain other people.
Right.
So it's just application. It's application of science in another way. Yeah. So it's fascinating. It's fascinating. But muggles refers to people who are not magic users on purpose.
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay. So I thought this would be a good one to start with. Empaths, when they come home and it's a dog laying on his back after a day of people.
Your puppy passed out on a pillow.
Yeah.
A lot of peas. Yeah.
So when people talk about being empathic,
that's one of the most widespread forms of intuition is empaths.
And that's kind of a good baseline, I think, to start building on and
building awareness on, and then building your skill set from. Yes.
Right. And it's when people use phrases like "you could cut the tension with a knife," I walked in the house and I knew something was wrong. Hello, you're being empathic.
You avoid somebody because they have a funky, dark vibe, like when you're walking in public and you have a tendency to go around someone because they have a bad vibe. Okay, that's being an empath. You're aware that their feelings, emotions, something that they're putting off, you're aware of it. And the opposite is true too. When somebody's in a very good mood or a loving mood or a happy mood, they can say nothing and you'll be attracted to at least be in their space, or or say something. Yeah.
And I figured out some stores bother me because of one, the lighting. If they have if you've got a massive box store that has fluorescent lights, that it's just the vibration.
The vibration of the fluorescence. Yeah.
But like I've noticed a lot of them now are getting skylights, which is great. Like
natural lighting.
What's
Aldi
the
something?
Big discount one? Anyway, big discount.
Hey, in the chat, y'all, people listening, if you know what kind of store she's trying to say, feel free to put it in the comments.
Yeah, it's not Sam's, it's the other one.
Oh shoot! Now that she said that,
it's like it just went right out my head.
I'm thinking Sam's Choice, but that's at Costco.
Yes,
Costco.
Yeah, they use a lot of skylights. They still have this fluorescence and all, but the skylights help. And then you think about the people that what?
Are you a light vampire? Hopping from light pool to light pool instead of hopping from shadow to shadow? And Angie got it. She said Costco. It popped up. Yeah. She's a light vampire. Yep. Edie got it too.
Yeah, and it's like, you feel like you go into some of these places, and because you have, like, when you go in, I can't stand crowds anymore. I can't.
They still don't bother me, but I'm weird for that. I'm weird among the weirdos for that. But most people can't take crowd. That's normal. They can't take that much energy coming at them all the time.
Yeah, and it's mostly because if it's a crowd of a certain type of people, it's fine. Like if I'm on a college campus and it's crowded, it's fine.
Or a
or if
music concert. Yeah.
or a music concert, or where everybody's kind of in the same vibe. But you throw me in Walmart, and it's like,
On the 5th day of the month when all the paychecks hit. Yeah.
yeah,
When the state paychecks hit. Yeah. Yeah.
yeah, it's like, oh my god, because it's just because you've got everybody, or um uh there are certain days, like Saturday mornings I don't go out, never ever, and I know you should never say never. Black Fridays, I refuse. I absolutely refuse to go out into. I did it one time and I said never again. When I was a kid, it was fine, but now it's like, my body just screams because it's just you can feel the energy, and you can feel, and you start buying into it because people are anxious, or they're in a hurry, or and it's that panic type.
Yeah.
And then
Mhm.
then as an empath, you start absorbing it, and it's like, why am I so nervous? Oh, and you go, oh shit, it's everybody else, it's not me.
I keep forgetting.
Yeah, so that's what you're doing. Being empathic, you pick up on other people's vibes, you pick up on emotions and feelings. If somebody sits down and starts crying, and then you're crying right with them, and then you're going, why am I crying? It's
Yeah, if
because,
you cry easy with other people.
yeah.
Generally speaking, and we're just using the term muggles loosely, but muggles who are empathic, or just in psychological terms, they call it HSP, highly sensitive persons, similar to crowds living in apartments. Yeah. Edie said, yeah, living in apartments wires her too. I'm thinking is what
Yeah.
she's saying. But what happens is, well, so if it's so chaotic a feeling and such a mishmash of feelings, and all humans are connected, all humans are intuitive to a vast degree, the difference being how much they're aware of it. But at least subconsciously, they're all sensitive to it, to intuition. So why do we do crowds? What's the hype with the football games and the hockey games and the Black Friday and the Walmarts and the Costco's and all that? The the dealio there is, most humans crave connection,
Mm-hmm.
the herd instinct. And and in our
Oh.
society, yes, and well, the sheeple.
Yeah.
we like our herds, but in our society, we're very, very much conditioned to live as solo as possible. Kids move away from their parents. Brothers and sisters don't live together, or in proximity. It's rare to see a family all live in the same street. Grandparents don't live with their kids or their grandkids like they used to. Where that's called a nuclear family. It's just mom and dad and the kids, and that's it. Mom and dad and the kids, and that's it. And we still crave our herd. So we go to the store, or we go to concerts, or we go to movies out in public. And the chaos is affirmation that you are connected to the people around you. So it's
Wow.
actually a reward, even though it's really, really tough past a certain point. But that's the price you pay for being connected. You also get swept up in the flow.
But I've always been one that I like being connected in a more calmer fashion. I, I just,
Well, people who are asleep from that are not aware that a calmer option is available. They're not aware
yeah.
of that. Yeah, they're not aware of that, but they will be.
And I mean, and
They will
sometimes
be.
if I know I'm going into something like, holy cow, when I was settling my mother's estate, I would have to go to the Guilford County Courthouse because that's where the estate office is.
Sure.
And I learned really quickly to kind of put a barrier around myself, because I could get within a block of that courthouse and you start feeling the energy as you're walking up to it. Holy cow, all these people that are angry and pissed and that have been to court or they don't want to be there and fighting each other. And I mean, it just
justice
gets
versus
stronger and
victim.
stronger. And it's like, no, I wish they'd move this office. But
But that's why we like it as a humanity in general. That's why we like it. We get our cheap thrill off of somebody else's buzz.
Interesting.
Humans love a quick, cheap thrill. That's why we like sugar. That's why we like caffeine. That's why we like punchlines.
Sorry.
That's why she's going to tell us about it. That's why our culture likes horror movies and thrillers. That's why we like the cheap, what I call a cheap thrill. We like the adrenaline rush, the serotonin rushes, the endorphin rushes that come from that. Yeah.
Oh.
Sex too, all of that. Yeah. Food, sex, and
entertainment. Preferably not crowds and sex at the same time.
Depends on your preference.
Well, that's true too. Far be it for me to judge. All right. So
so back to where we were. Yeah.
Next step up from intuitives. What would you consider that?
You mean empaths? Next step up from empaths?
Empaths, and we talked a little bit. Intuitives and empaths, kind of the intuitives.
They cross over, but it's different.
Yeah. Empaths more of just kind of the feeling and the atmosphere.
Right. Empaths are about the feeling, being sensitive about the feeling and the vibe that's in the area, but not really knowing what it's about. You're just aware of the feeling and you start responding to it in your own body. An intuitive can do that, plus get specific information attached to it, such as who, what, when, where, why, how, in the past, in the future. For how long, predictive stuff, on and on and on. They can get very, very, very specific.
So what would next be?
Well, a breakdown is kind of important there too. There are different types of intuitives. There's clairvoyant, clairaudient, clairsentient, and there's a fourth one. Guys, if anybody wants to write it in the comments, that'd be great.
Audience.
Okay, let me go through and say what they are. Clairaudient means you can hear things. You can hear information. Clairvoyant means you can see information. Clairsentient means you can just feel that it's a truth, that something is a truth. And then there's claircognizance. Claircognizance. A knowing. You just know. You're not seeing, hearing, or feeling anything. You just know it. A fact drops into your head. Those are all different types of intuitives. It's not unusual to have more than one type in one person. Ideally, you go ahead and develop all of them. Yeah. Get a clearer picture. So, what was your question that you threw out next?
No, I know sometimes it's interesting because like I'll hear something, but it's not like hearing like you're talking to somebody.
Right. It doesn't sound like sound. Right.
No, it's like a conversation in your head.
Mm-hmm.
And it's like, and that's the best way I know to describe it. But I still feel like I'm hearing it. It's not like it's a feeling or a knowledge or a.
Well, you can break each one of those down even further. There's different types of clairaudience. There's different types of clairvoyance. There's different types of clairsentience. There's different types of claircognizance. So there's hearing in your head, and then there's versus actually hearing something coming in from outside. Clairsentience. Clairsentience. It could be a feeling that's generated from yourself, or it's a feeling that's generated on a cosmic level, or it's a feeling generated from other humans. There's that. Just for example, clairvoyance, same thing. You see it in your head, or do you actually see something bouncing around in the room? So you can break each one of those down even further. Yeah,
that's true.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and I've done both of those. So okay, all right, cool.
Yeah.
All right. So what?
Now you see. Just to wrap it back to where we were. Now you see the difference between. I hope people are picking up on the difference between an empath and an intuitive. Intuitive is much more complex. Much more. Yeah. So go ahead.
And so what makes a psychic then?
A psychic is a generic term for all kinds of skill sets. A psychic refers, usually when somebody is called psychic, they're referring to someone who has prediction abilities, that they can name potential events in the future. Now, whether or not they name them as absolute or probable or whatever is up to each individual conversation. But a psychic usually refers to somebody who can see further into the future. And that is now conversationally, we're tapping into the Akashic record, which is the universal record of all things, all thoughts, all events, all of them, every single one of them.
Do you really think though that all people who are psychic are knowingly accessing the Akashic records?
No. Most of them have no idea. But because they ask their guides, where's this coming from? And they get angelic responses, or they get spirit animal responses, or they get information from their spiritual symbols like candles or books or whatever. And they're not always aware that those things are connected to the Akashic. And then it's coming through them through. They don't realize that the end game is the Akashic record. And by the way, that's just one word for it. There's lots of other words for the permanent record of everything that has, is, or will exist.
And
pretty mind-blowing. It's also called the Akashic Library. That's another word for it.
And there's also there's nothing, people still have free will.
Yes.
And when somebody tells the future, they should always give you the caveat. Based on right now, this is what's going to happen.
Let me quote my favorite movie. I want to quote my favorite from iRobot. Mm-hmm. That Sergeant, you are asking the right question. Yeah, that's the question you should be asking when somebody does a read for you. But yes, you're right. Free will is a major player. So all predictions of the future can be changed.
Yeah.
All of them can. All of them. We're cool. Humans are cool like that.
And if I've told this story, forgive me, but I had one night, it was early in my first marriage. We had gone to bed, and all of a sudden I woke up. I sat straight up and like, you know. And my husband said, "What's wrong with you?" And I said, "Well, I was dreaming. I had a bad dream." He said, "You couldn't have. You weren't asleep." Well, yes, I was. Well, I was in that little dreamy la place where I get a lot of my stuff if I'm going to get something. And I saw, we lived in Greenville, North Carolina, which is in the eastern part of the state. And at the time, we were coming home a lot of weekends because my husband's dad was sick, and home being Greensboro. So about a 3-hour drive then on 2-lane highways. And I dreamed we were going through one of the little pit stop towns that we went through, one stoplight town. And on Friday evenings, traffic was heavy leaving, going toward the big city. And I dreamed we were going through this town. And right after because traffic was moving fast and we got the green light, I was sped and did more than the speed limit. And out came this land yacht in my way. And just as I was getting ready to hit it, I woke up. That's when I went, So my husband said, "Well, we'll take care of that. I'll drive, and we don't have to worry about you driving," because we knew this was like on Monday. We knew we were coming home on Friday. So on Friday, we get in the car, and because of circumstances, I'm the one driving. And just as we get into that little town, I went, Oh crap!
Danger, Will Robinson. Danger, Will Robinson.
Yes. And my husband said, "What?" And I said, "That dream." And he said, "Well, slow down. Don't worry about what people are doing behind you. Just slow down." And sure enough, as we approached the stoplight, it was green. We were able to keep going, but I deliberately stayed slow. And just as we got through the light, here come that same land yacht, same color, everything, pulled out in front of me, but I was able to stop in time. And it was like, whoa, is that freaky or
Wow.
what? Yeah.
Yeah.
But
Testify.
yeah. And so
Yeah.
there's nothing set in stone. In other words, if I was reading that future for somebody else, I wouldn't dare tell them, you're going to be in a wreck. No, you might if you don't change things.
Right. There's an opportunity there's a possibility that there is a strong possibility. There is multiple possibilities, and here are 2 or 3 of them. These are all caveats that I've used when I don't have time to explain about free will.
Yeah.
But it's an ethical debate among intuitive people about how and when and how they say that and when they say that to their clients. But universally, most people agree that you need to point out that free will overrides everything. And that actually is a big gift. So it's huge. So what are some other terminologies that have floated onto the radar here besides intuitive and empath?
Witches. And
you could talk about witches.
I can.
Yeah, okay, what did she just do, y'all? I can.
Let me share this. This is the Munster. No, the original Morticia Adams.
Yes.
Carolyn, whatever. Friend, do you worship the devil? No, darling, he worships me.
I love that character. Angelica Houston's rendition. Oh, she's a god. I love her. She is so funny. She's sexy and funny all the way through the movie, nonstop, just very consistent. Her writing, the writers for her parts, her one-liners. Oh my God, Angelica Houston does such a great job with Morticia Adams. I love that character. But yes, Yvonne Carlo.
Yvonne Carlo. Yeah. That was
Munsters. Yvonne Carlo.
Yeah, that was Munsters. This was Carolyn
was Lily.
Somebody.
Yvonne Carlo was Lily Munster.
Yeah, but the original Morticia Adams was Carolyn.
Anybody? Somebody. Hey, Lee, do you know the name of the actress who played the original Mrs. Adams? If anybody remembers that, type it in the comments, please.
Yeah, but
witches.
But no,
witches. Let me ask you some basic questions, because I think you know the answers to these. Are all witches females?
No.
What are they? Okay, so what are male witches?
People call them warlocks, but yeah, there are male versions, but it's Carolyn somebody.
That's where we got. Yeah, that's as far as we got. Yeah.
But I don't.
They're called witches. Males
witches,
are.
I've heard
nowadays. In the past, that wasn't true, but nowadays they do.
Right. That's what I thought. I thought that had changed. I don't hang around any covens or clans or whatever so I don't know but that was my understanding, was that witches.
So tell me, all right, from your perspective then, because I bet you a lot of people might relate to that. What is your definition of a witch? What definition do you couch that as? And we'll talk about that compared to my definition of a witch.
Are you a good witch or a bad witch?
You're a bad witch, little girl.
I think there are
What
first of
constitutes a
all,
witch? What
you've
constitutes a
got
modern witch? A modern witch, not a historical one, but a modern witch.
it's someone who and
Mm-hmm.
then you talk about Wicca. You've
Mm-hmm.
got Wicca people, and then and a lot of it's their own perception of themselves as to how they are, but
Absolutely.
most
People's
are
Lisa, you just
benign.
well, at least I want to stay with the thread you just had a second ago. Lee pointed out some of them call themselves druids, some of them call themselves Celtic mystics, and bigger in Europe, maybe. Okay, yeah.
Yeah.
That has to do with culture.
Yes.
So thank you. I'm thinking in terms of generically, if somebody says I'm a witch, what do you think she's doing, Iris? He or she? What do you
A
think
lot's going to depend on the read I get on them. Some people are going to
Cool.
be, some people are going to be practitioners of taking care of the earth.
Yes.
And nature based,
Yes.
and, kind of like the paganism, but they might have other spiritual beliefs, but they are really connected with the earth and in
Yes.
healing and practicing ceremonies that honor Mother Earth. Then there are witches that like to manipulate energy.
Mm-hmm.
And some do that in a good way, and some do it in a not so good way.
Black witches, white witches, and gray witches. And the earth witches, they typically call themselves green witches.
Okay.
All right. People do use other terms. We're not trying to generate labels. We're trying to give you some foundation. I guess we should have started with that. We're trying to give you some foundational information. This is not the only terminology that these people use or that these communities use.
Let me throw in real quick. Carolyn Jones was the Morticia Adams person.
Yay! There you go.
Thank you, Lisa.
Miss Edie, and Lisa too. Absolutely. Yay. Jones, you think we could have made up that name? Go figure. Witches are people that do practice from a paganistic style of beliefs and spirituality. However, there are people who claim to be Christian witches. There's also witches in Native American practices, in African practices, and South American practices. Lee brought up a word that's spelled Bruja, bruja. Bruja. That's Spanish. It's Espanol. La palabra en español.
So when you have a brouhaha going on,
yes, you're causing some shit. And that's associated to being a witch. A male sometimes is called a warlock. Sometimes he's called a wizard. But he's often called a witch. And women are also called wizards. They're also called things like enchantress, spellcasters. There's all kinds of words for it. So they're all magical sounding. And druids is a culture that supported that a lot. Celtic culture did too. But like I said, it's also widespread in Asia, in Africa, in South America, Central America, Native American stuff coming out of America, North America, and Canada.
It's everywhere.
Eskimo, yeah, they're everywhere. Which brings us to the next occupation like that is related, and that's called shamans. Shamans are often called witches, and witches are often called shamans because sometimes, not always, sometimes their practices overlap. What is your awareness of shamans?
I've known people that I went to Mexico and I saw a shaman and came back and they're like a guru. I know that they're meditative. They might be practicing medicine men. You can go and
medicine men and women is another word for it.
Yeah, smoke a little peyote and have a trip with them.
That would be a southwestern or desert type of shaman.
Yeah.
There's urban shamans that have never been high in their lives on drugs.
Yeah.
So there's that. If it helps, the most all-encompassing but specific to shamans definition I ever heard that consistently is applied everywhere I went. A person who is a shaman firmly has 1 foot planted in on each side of the veil. They're firmly in the 3D workaday world, and they're firmly out there in the ethers. And these people, by having a foot on both sides, these people easily go back and forth. A shaman can exist in both worlds or be in both worlds at the same time and not necessarily have to move, but stay there all the time. So that's a basic definition that fits across multiple talent, skill sets, or across cultures, be it Druid or a Southwestern Native American Mexican person, or Tibetan or whatever. Shamans are almost always related to some kind of spirituality. All right, but then again, so is witchcraft. So there's a lot of witching and shamanism that are very, very, very similar, and that they're, like you just mentioned, another really good word. What's a medicine man? What's a medicine woman? Generally speaking, medicine man and medicine woman is interchangeable with a shaman. Somebody who causes healing.
Yeah. Yeah.
A shaman doesn't have to heal people. They tend to do it just by inherently doing their work.
Cool.
Mm-hmm.
I'll show you this real quick because this is probably a good time for
Blow that one all the way up so they can read it. Can you make the screen go all the way?
Network connection is messed up. Wait just a second.
There
we go. Okay. All right.
Tarot readers.
Yes. So, it's one of those what society thinks we do, and it goes on down the list. So, what society thinks we do, the devil. What our parents think we do,
gypsies and fortunes.
Yes. What our friends think we do,
the magician card.
What our clients think we do,
the lovers and romance card.
And what we think we do,
the hermit.
Yeah, it's kind of like being isolated. And what we really do,
exercise temperance.
Yes.
Control. Yes. Yep. Self-control.
So perception and all that, falls in different categories with all of these. And real quick before I forget, let me show you this one too. What do you call a psychic gnome who escaped from prison? Small, medium, at large.
That is such a reach. That is such a reach. That is so cute. That's a good one. That's a good one. Psychic gnome escaped from prison. That's good. Need a few more of those in our yards.
Yeah.
Somebody, as Lee said, they trick people into change. Lee, are you referring to shamans?
Or witches?
Or witches. Because I think either way, I agree with you. Shamans tend to be more subtle than witches. But in some cultures, they're not subtle at all. So,
yeah.
I know a lot of shamans. You've met several of them. Iris, you have met several of them recently, matter of fact. Mm-hmm. And you can see the different types of walks of life they all have. And in that case, there were 5 in the room at the time. And yeah, you could see 5 different expressions of their medicine.
Okay.
Now, when I say their medicine or the work they do, the medicine they do, can you explain what it is I'm referring to? What do I mean by their medicine?
Well, there's different modalities of healing, and like Reiki or moving energy,
herbalism.
Yeah, herbalism.
Crystals.
Yeah, crystals is another big one. Using music.
Yes. Yes. A lot
Mus-
of musical shamans in the entertainment industry.
Yeah,
Yes.
yeah.
Especially chanting
Mm-hmm.
and meditative stuff. Classical music is very shamanic by design.
Yeah, yeah.
That'll come out.
So, and being able to, I think, correct me if I'm wrong, but that being able to pull from the other side to get information that the person that you're working with needs to hear in order to evoke change.
And to hear it clearly without filters.
Yeah.
That's the trick. To hear and say something without putting your own limits on it. That's the hard part for most people. Well, you made
Yeah.
another good comment. Everyone has medicine, soul, energy.
Mm-hmm.
That's a wonderful. Yep. That absolutely. Everybody has their own medicine that way. So, Iris, let me ask you this: when people say spirit animal, spirit guide, not spirit guide, sorry, spirit animal, totem animal, power animal. Ooh, I saw a vulture 3 times this week. Oh, that must be a spirit power animal. Go look it up.
Yeah.
What are they talking about?
There are certain attributes that have universally been attributed to various animals, and you literally can look them up, like rabbit spirit animal or
Which is a
deer.
shaman animal, by the way.
Yeah.
Funny you should say that. That's a shaman animal. Yeah.
Is it a shaman animal in that if it shows up, it's related because you're a shaman type, or is it a shamanic animal in that it
In and of
acts as a
itself.
shaman?
In and of
In and of.
itself, it is a shaman because it lives on the surface of the earth and it digs below the surface of the earth. Rabbits run on
Ah,
the top and rabbits run underneath. They have a foot in both worlds.
gotcha.
Any frogs, tadpole, frog, shaman,
Transitional
shaman,
type.
butterfly, caterpillar,
Oh,
butterfly.
yeah. Oh,
If you can think,
cool.
if you guys in the comments, if you can think of other examples of animals that live dual lives.
But yeah, but when you see these animals repeatedly or profoundly
Yes,
show
yes.
up, like I was out in the backyard and I've never really seen an owl around here. And one night I was out there, it was about 2 o'clock in the morning. I'd taken the dog out and I heard this whoo, and I was like, just, I mean, real clear. And I looked and in a far tree that, I could see the silhouette of the tree. And on the very
Oh yeah.
top was this owl perched and I could see the perfect outline. And he was probably 200 feet from me,
Wow.
but it was very profound because it's
The
like,
energy of the situation. Yeah.
yeah. So then I went and looked up, what is an owl?
You can look it up. You can my website, Indigo Answers, or mine and David's site, Indigo Answers by Margot and David, indigoanswers.com. In the resources page, there are about 4 or 5 links to totem animal, power animal dictionaries to sort of give you a shortcut, but you can Google almost any, which, at least Lee has pointed out, or somebody did.
At
Somebody
least
pointed
as
out
it
you can
depends.
Google.
Sometimes it's just roadkill. If there's a message, it's personal.
Sometimes if that animal is dead, the message is whatever that message is, stop.
Yeah, 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 yeah.
That message we commence for the day.
Yeah.
Start playing the national anthem. So yes, that's our. Now let me ask you this: we're talking about spirit animals. Is it just animals like dogs and birds and wolves and bears
It
and
can be bugs and
yeah?
and
What else?
insects and Oh no, what else is there? I didn't know there was going to be a
Fish.
quiz.
That's all
Oh,
right.
fish. Yeah. Okay. Duh.
What
My
about
dad had about 30 aquariums at one time. What does that tell you?
woo? That's a spirit animal for Dad. Yeah. Praying mantis. Yes, praying mantis is
Oh yeah.
a really cool one to have. Um, an overlooked set of animals, dragons,
Oh
merma-
yeah.
mermaids, all of those type of beasts. And if you watch the movie Fantastic Beasts, you'll see even more. Griffins and hinky punks and so on and so on. But yeah, there's magical beasts as well as there's extinct beasts and there's non-extinct beasts. Let's put it that way. There's also yetis and dinosaurs and dodo birds and carrier pigeons. There's all kinds of animals that are more than just the furry things with feet.
Yeah.
And let's see.
Okay.
We have people. We have guests with opinions talking to us at the moment,
Yes.
and
So
you're entitled to that belief.
yeah, yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
Some and we were expecting that to come up at some point. And that's what's interesting is in with all of this, I feel like I have become closer to God than I ever was when I solely practiced Christianity.
Right.
And my beliefs have changed because of my understanding of the greater connection. And it's no longer the patriarchal, do what I say or I'm going to gust you. I'm going to gust you. Like
Right.
little bunny foo-foo. No, that's
Everybody's a little bunny foo-foo all of a sudden. Yeah.
yeah. It's like,
Our
you
God is
know,
God is a loving God,
yeah.
and people that He had souls and people that He sent to Earth to communicate with us. A very popular one is, of course, Jesus Christ. Those are loving entities, and just like you, my relationship with what I understand God to be, or whatever word you want to use for it, got much more profound, much more real, and much deeper. And considering that I came from an atheist background and I was raised atheist, talking to Jesus and talking to um, people that understand Jesus and so on can move me to tears. Whereas, 20, 30 years ago, I would have been
Yeah.
and been, oh, that's nice. And completely misunderstood, not understood. So, how people want to express their relationship with what we're loosely calling God is a personal choice. And we feel that we are not entitled to judge other people for where they are on their path in their relationship with God. Just because somebody's not at the same point of understanding that I am, or that I'm not at the same point they are, doesn't mean that we're wrong. It means that we're all constantly learning and growing about a concept that we loosely call God that is also constantly growing. And
Yeah.
we're discovering how freaking huge God really is. Yeah.
Right. And
Yeah.
that's what's fascinating to me is the connection of all religions and all the beliefs and the similarities
Yeah.
and the only reason most religions were formed was because one person disagreed with what or a small section.
Doctrines of one
Yeah, and
particular
it's like, oh, I
sect.
don't like what you're saying, so we're going to go over here and start our own church. I mean, Henry VIII started the Church of England because he wanted a divorce. Go
Right,
figure. So,
right, right.
so
And among Christianity, a lot of the denominations came from whether or not they believe the sacrament represents the body of Christ, or if they believe it actually is the body of Christ. And then it breaks down even further as to how often you're supposed to take a sacrament. And it breaks it down even further. But that's actually one of the key determining factors between the different denominations, such as, Methodist versus Presbyterian versus Episcopalian. And that's what I mean by denomination. So there you go. Lee says she's reading a great book on this topic, Jamie Sam's Dancing the Dream, Spiritual Developmental Stages. Yes. Yeah, Jamie Sams is also a prolific author of animal totem dictionaries, and has a lot of good teachings and even flashcards and cool stuff like that.
Yeah.
There's a lot of wisdom coming from those paths as well. Sacred Paths of Human Transformation. That sounds like a book title. I'm assuming that's what she's saying. So
yeah,
those are some really good ones.
Let's see. So we talked a little bit about energy workers and shamans. What about light workers? Are they any different?
Yes and no. Again, like all other descriptions of humans, it depends on the context. Let me preface by saying all people who claim magic, all people who claim shaman, all people who claim light worker, all people who claim intuitive or empath or anything, they're all human. All right. They're describing a skill set and or purpose to their skill sets or purpose or doings or skills or whatever. All right. I'm using the same word over and over on purpose. They're still human. We're not talking about supernatural or ET or non-terrestrial beings. That is a valid discussion, but it's a separate one. We're talking about what humans do. So, having said that, light workers, a witch can be a light worker, but a light worker isn't necessarily a witch. Light worker is more of an umbrella term. It is a term that means anyone who brings light or enlightenment, positivity, light, enlightenment to Earth. And we do mean to the whole planet, as in all humans, or Gaia, the planet, big ball of molten rock and air and water, or that. Or they bring enlightenment or light to animals or to plants or whatever earth indigenous thing that they are guided to. So a witch can be a light worker, but a light worker isn't necessarily a witch. You can have Christian light workers. You can have generic eclectic light workers that defy all labels. You can have Christian light workers. There's a ton of those. You can have Native American light workers. There's a ton of those. You can have Buddhist light workers. There's a ton of those. You can have Islamic light workers. There's a ton of those. It's anybody who brings enlightenment, and enlightenment can show up as music, dance, book writing, intuitive readings, energy healing, doctors, nurses, teachers, first grade teachers, second grade teachers, third grade teachers. What other type of light work might there be, Iris?
Holy cow, I don't know. You've covered so many.
Cooking? Cooking is a big one. Cooking, yeah. Cooking, food.
Oh, I never thought
chefing.
of that.
Yeah, food and chefing are huge light working. Literally anything that moves energy for a positive outcome. So if you can, so what is energy? We keep I just realized that, we're referring to, and it's even in the comments, soul energy, moving energy. So, Iris, what is an energy worker?
Well, we're energy never dies. And we're made up of energy, and we have energy, and we put out energy, and we take in energy, and and you've got it from Duke energy to people energy. Their energy is science. And so when you are an energy worker, you're recognizing that there are certain rhythms and cadences and movement within and around people. And so if you're an energy worker, you're either helping shift a person's energy for spiritual reasons or for physical reasons, or sometimes it's a little of both.
Yeah.
It's, there are things that, give you an example. I had somebody do Reiki or energy work on me one time. It wasn't Reiki, it was something else. But she said her diagnosis, and this was like 10 years ago before my knees got as bad as they are now. She said that I had a block of energy, like the energy wasn't going through my leg like it should. And typically it was because of financial worries. And because it was the right leg, right knee, or whatever. And that was her interpretation.
Was she a body talk practitioner?
I don't remember if she was body talk. She might have been Reiki. I don't remember.
Yeah, sometimes Reiki people get diagnostic, but the basis of Reiki is not diagnostic. That sounds more like a body talk practice, which is fascinating. Boy, I'm not saying there's anything wrong with diagnostics. I'm just saying features of different types of practices. It sounds like you're describing, and she might have been doing both.
Yeah,
she might have been doing both. I've read books about it, and I've seen it consistently.
I could tell you who it is, but I don't want to give her name.
To emotional things.
You know her, but I don't want to give her name.
You can tell me off camera if you want to. But Lee, what did you mean? Starbucks workers, baristas? Are you saying they're light workers?
They're food.
They're light. Yeah. Oh, okay. Yeah. Maybe that's what that is. Yeah.
I get a little glass of happiness every time I go.
First coffee, then you may speak. Yeah. No coffee, no talkie.
I like getting puppuccinos for my dog.
There you go. Yep. Lee said that's what it was. Absolutely. I never got on the coffee train.
God in a cup.
Or tea. God in a cup. Ooh, let's offer it. Hey, there's the name of our coffee cafe on our future retreat.
Oh, yeah.
God in a cup.
And it has that little goddess or whatever on the side of the cup.
She's a mermaid.
Okay.
Yeah, she's a mermaid. What, man? She's a god. She's a little god in the, or maybe not so little, but she's a god in the of the sea, or goddess of the sea.
Yeah, and you thought it was just chicken of the sea.
And she's a bigger tuna than that. She's a two-tailed mermaid. Her little tails swirl up.
That's right.
Like a mustache. Yeah, it gets weirder than that.
She's got hormonal problems.
She's got her butt in a twirl. She don't have panties. She's got her fins in a twirl.
Someone got your fins in a twist. I haven't had my coffee yet.
Lay off my barnacles.
So are there any phrases that any of y'all have any questions about?
Yeah, what's some terminology that you guys have heard about and you're like, what the F was that? Maybe Iris and I have heard enough that we might be able to shed some light on it. I'm trying to think of some other terminology that I've heard out there. Energy worker, light worker. Well, you know what? Duh. I founded an organization that some of y'all know about in 2004 called LEWA, LUA, LEWA. And Irish pop quiz, what does LEWA stand for?
Light and Energy Workers Association.
Woo! My bell. There you go. Thank you. Sister. she's got my back.
Yeah.
But yes, Light and Energy Workers Association. We have over 300 people, and I dare say you, out of 300 plus people, you would probably hear at least 200 different definitions of, so what are you?
Oh, that makes me feel a little better.
Oh, yeah. It's a very eclectic group. I can tell you that some of them, there's Christians, there's pagans, there's voodoo, I said Christian, but there's also Catholics, Methodists, Baptists, all spread out in there. There's a few Native Americans. There's a lot of people that have a belief system with a Buddhist overlay. Caveat, remember, Buddhism is more of a lifestyle than a religion. As a matter of fact, they characterize it as a lifestyle completely, and it's not a religion. So you can be a Buddhist Christian. You can be a Buddhist Islam. Your sister made a comment. What does that say, Iris?
Is it possible that all these categories are dealing with energies in a way we don't understand, but in future will be accepted science? Oh, yay!
Cowbell.
Cowbell for Deborah. Yay!
Deborah, you live too far away, honey. We need you. Come home. East Coast is needing you, baby girl. Deborah, you just summed it right up perfectly. Chop, chop. End of story. Edie said, bingo. Yeah, see, Deborah, you're hitting on all cylinders. These categories are linguistic ways to deal with categories of existence and or energies in ways we don't understand yet, but we will. Just like right now we're talking, our cultures are talking about the races and racism and prejudice and all that stuff, whereas people who are moving into enlightenment are realizing there really isn't a race. There's just whether or not your ancestors lived at closer to equatorial direct sunlight or closer to the north where there was less sunlight. So historically your DNA changed enough to make you more fair skin or make you more dark skin or some gradient in between. And there's other mitigating factors too. I am speaking in generalities. So what people are discovering, which shamans and magic people have known for millennia, is that we're actually all the same. And that concept's getting more and more popular, that there isn't a racial divide. There is not really a racial divide, that we're all just the human race. And as we begin to understand that in a spiritual sense, I was just using race as an example. In a spiritual sense, there isn't Islams and Christians and a separate Buddhism and a separate Native American and so on, and Jewish and Judaism. They aren't really separate. What, like Iris pointed out earlier, is that almost all of the major, matter of fact, all of the major religions have nearly identical foundational beliefs. I think you touched on that earlier.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. What are they?
What are the foundational beliefs?
What are some of the foundational beliefs?
Some of the foundational beliefs are the belief in a higher power, that we are all connected in some way to a source of creation. And then and I'm not talking about creationism as in I point a finger and zing, there's man, and zing, there's woman, and zing, there's animals. I'm talking creation, our source, as
the thing of that all that is.
Yeah.
The beginning of all that is. I guess that'd be another word for that kind of creator.
Yeah. The and when you start thinking in that term, that's where you get into realizing that, like, there's connections in the Bible to the belief, like, we're a temple of God. Well, yeah, because each of us has a God spark in us, if you want
Which
to
is
call it
another
that.
expression of the exact same concept. Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Or that, the it's a direct connection to the source, and it's a direct connection to each other. And that we're
Right.
all children of God, and we're
That
all
was the next that's also a popular concept, that we're all children of God, or we are all replications of God, or we were formed in his, her image, but somehow it's expressed that we are a replication of what we understand Creator to be. Yeah.
Yeah.
And
So whether or not
how
you
you
believe
express that.
that it's a old man sitting on a throne up in the clouds, or if you go a little bit different than that, that's where your religions come in differently.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Shades of self-expression.
Yeah.
Now, Lee Crandall Carter is on a philosophical roll at the moment. And do you want to read that for us, or do you want me
Well,
to
she
try?
starts quantum level, everything that is, isn't, and the in between. Yes, ma'am. And Joe Dispenza is trying to bridge science and spirituality for mainstream medicine. Not convinced he's pulling it off yet, but he's trying to do scientific studies on human performance. And what's interesting is, I was mentioning, we had a conversation about this not too long ago, where I've noticed more and more science is proving things that we've known all along, as far as, things like your DNA is changeable. If you're impacted by some, say somebody was in World War I and had a horrendous experience, their DNA was changed by that. And that affects all their offspring.
Yes.
And so, through some of the healings that are done, I know the practice that I do is theta healing. There's a belief that we can change
And heal
DNA
backwards.
and
Heal our ancestors.
yeah. So, because if you've got an unnatural fear of something, sometimes that's because it's a genetic belief.
Yes.
And it's carried through on your DNA.
A cellular belief, a genetic belief, a DNA programming. There's lots of phrases for that.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
And science has proven that that's possible.
Proven that's possible. DNA is very mutable. They're finding out that viruses have been mutating the human genome for thousands of years. That's what viruses do. They mutate the DNA of their host. So when they leave, a little piece is left behind. Viruses mutate humans. That's not into like dripping zombies. Although I'm sure somebody took it that far, but but no, we're
now
talking
I've got
about
the Cranberry song stuck in my head.
Oh, there
Zombie.
you go.
Zombie.
But we're talking about more subtle mutations that are natural and over time.
Yeah.
But Joe Dispenza is one. Dr. Greg Braden has been trying to do that. Bridge science and spirituality. One of the big proponents of Reiki, his name is Lee Rand. His last name is Rand. I can't remember his first name. Hang on. I don't know, right? When you get in the conversation, you can't remember it. But anyway, his last name is Rand, R-A-N-D. And anybody can remember Rand's other two names, let me know. But he's a proponent of science and spirituality and energy working. He got Reiki to be a standard practice in some Connecticut hospitals in the outpatient facility, because money talks. that turns over their beds faster William Lee Rand. Thank you. Angie remembers. Awesome. Thank you. It turns over their beds faster. People go into anesthesia faster. They come out of anesthesia faster, and they get the hell out. And so now you can have 2-3 people in a hospital outpatient facility in one day instead of just one, because Reiki masters their energy work speeds it up. So, wow. Yeah. So William Lee Rand is another person who has brought spiritual belief systems in the form of what does Reiki do. And we need to do that. We need to do a show on what you do. Mm-hmm. Quantum. What's it called?
Oh, the theta healing. Yeah, what is that thing you do?
Okay, that's an effect we need to talk about. I knew it was one of those cool Latin-y words.
Yeah, theta, because it's a level of brain waves. Yeah.
Yes, we need to do a show about what is theta and do a show about what is Reiki.
Okay. Yeah.
I think people would be interested in hearing from people like us more than just, okay, it's energy medicine that you put your hands out. Yeah. But guess what? You learned that in the first 10 minutes of class.
Yeah.
Reiki master and lessons can go on for months and even years. So there's a lot more to it. Way a lot more to it. I might even be able to get David to come on and talk about that. That'd be cool. Yeah. So, where were we? Scientists who
scientists proving a lot of what we already did. Yeah, which is sort of a little segue because we're way over time, and we probably should wrap it up. Next week, do you want to do the one about how to get to 4D? We talked about 4D and 5D, and
how to get from third density to fourth density to fifth density.
Yeah, we talked about what it was. Let's talk about the how.
Yes, and that's very relevant considering what's going to happen this year.
Okay.
In the world of health and medicine. It's going to become very, very, very crucial for people to be able to shift into 4 and 5D. And we'll maybe tie that in at the end, near the end of the show.
Yeah. Hopefully we'll find out more in the next week. But even so, we've got a
next
lot.
1 to 2 weeks. Yeah, next 1 to 2 weeks, and definitely in the next 1 to 2 months, the face of healthcare is going to change dramatically. Ooh. So we like to drop little things here and there, but that's because we want y'all to go do research. Don't take our word for it just because we like talking.
Yeah. That's true. Yes. Yeah. We don't and if you ever find anything and you want to pop us a message on Facebook or on one of these videos or whatever, like that are recorded, you can leave messages and we'll respond, or visit my website. You can find my email address on iriscarter.com. So that's another way you can get up with us, because I'll share stuff with Margot if we get it that way. So, yeah. Cool. But thank y'all so much for being here. Hope it was informative and helpful and gave you more to think about. That's the biggest thing, is provoking thought. Yeah.
Yeah. It is polite. It depending on the conditions, by the way, it's okay to ask somebody, so what kind of witch are you?
Are you a good witch or
a bad witch? But it's not realistic to expect an answer. Okay. But it's okay it depends on how you ask. Don't ask nasty.
Yeah. Yeah. If you're genuinely curious, I think that's true for anybody of any religion, body types. When people have disabilities and things like that, so what's wrong with you? No. Or how'd that happen? No.
Yeah. So what what got you into your wheelchair? So it's obviously you have a medical condition. Do you mind telling me what it is?
Yeah. And
you can, and if they're not in the mood, and you can say, but if you're not in the mood to talk about it, it's okay. We can talk about something else. You give them an out. The same thing about religion. So what kind of Christian are you? What kind of Jew? Yeah, what kind of Jewish are you? There's lots of different types of Jewish. What kind of Islam are you? What kind of Buddhist are you? I'm a Celtic Druid Native American shamanistic Buddhist.
Yeehaw!
You can, I don't know, but you can, oh yeah, with shades of a.
Do you wear a kilt though?
Yeah, wear a kilt with your raccoon hat, you know.
Guys,
but my mother wasn't a Sephardic Jew, you know. No, that's not how it happens. Guys, have fun.
Yes, thank y'all.
Be curious. We love you.
Yes.
Go explore and come back next week.
Yay!
Good night.
Good night. Thank you for joining The Eyes of Indigo with Iris Carter and Margot Ross Sears. Music is Arcadia by Kevin MacLeod of Incomptech.com, licensed under Creative Commons. Visit our Facebook page for broadcast details, www.facebook.com/eyesofindigo. Show is copyrighted 2021 by Iris Carter and Margot Ross Sears, all rights reserved.